Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to how New Yorkers pick their team. So I assume this is going to focus on, obviously, like in New York, for all of the major sports in the US. I'm pretty sure you have two teams for all of the sports. I don't know if there's more than two for, like, I don't know, hockey or something. I'd assume not. Because I know, like, in the NBA there's two, in the NFL there's two, in the MLB, the Yankees, I assume there's two. I might be forgetting one. And also in the NHL, I can't actually say what the teams would be, but I assume there's a few as well. And also in the MLS as well, you've got two. You've got the the Red Bulls, and then New York City FC or something like that. But yeah, we're going to check this out and see. Hopefully going to enjoy. If you're from New York, I assume you can relate to this. And I assume how it works is you just sort of follow your family, sort of whoever your family support. They'll just push that onto you. But we're going to check this out and see. And yeah, let's jump into this reaction.
This is New York City, a sports fan's paradise among a concrete jungle.
Oh my goodness!
It also has one of the most unique fan dynamics in the world. No other metro area boasts 9 professional teams spread across 4 major sports leagues competing in 7 arenas and stadiums.
So, the Yankees, the Jets, the Rangers, obviously, the Mets. Wait, this is, Brooklyn. What's this NBA team? Is it the Net? Not the Nets. Brooklyn, New York. I can't remember the name for this team.
And they all have one thing in common.
The New York Nets?
They're competing
No.
for attention. Fandom here goes beyond just geography.
So there's one that has 3 New York teams then. One sport that has 3 New York teams. I don't really know. I assume it'll be MLB or ice hockey. I'm going to assume, I don't know. I assume this is ice hockey. I think it might be baseball.
One thing in common. They're competing for attention. Fandom here goes beyond just geography or team success. It's woven through timing, history, and traditions passed down through generations. These overlapping influences explain why certain patterns of loyalty seem to emerge. Why are Jets fans often Mets fans? Do the Islanders really consider themselves as a New York City team? And does anyone even support the Nets?
Oh, it is the Nets.
In New York City, choosing a team isn't as simple as it seems. It's not Chicago, where the Cubs and White Sox split the city by the north and south sides. And it's not LA, where one franchise almost always outshines the other.
Yeah.
Here, fandom is carved by overlapping histories, borough rivalries, old versus new, and a healthy dose of disdain for the other side. This is a city where every team has a backstory, and so do their fans. But what is it that makes a New York sports fan? Let's start with the foundations. To understand how New York's fanbase became so intricate, you have to go back, way back, to when it all started in the early days of American sports. By the late 19th century, New York had already established itself as a national hub for commerce and culture. And naturally, professional sports followed suit. Baseball led the way. The New York Giants and Brooklyn Dodgers were among the National League's headlining franchises, and the Yankees, though a later addition, quickly rose to dominance in
So the Yankees were last, but then they ended up becoming the biggest.
the American League. These teams didn't just represent the city, they embodied it, tying themselves to specific neighborhoods and boroughs. Brooklyn lived and breathed the Dodgers, while the Yankees and Giants vied for the attention of fans across Manhattan, the Bronx, and much of Queens. Initially, the Yankees and Giants shared the Polo Grounds, but as the Yankees' popularity surged, thanks to Babe Ruth and the team's growing success, they made a bold move across the Harlem River and established their new home in the iconic Yankee Stadium situated in the Bronx. There, the Yankees firmly established themselves as a Bronx team and the dominant force of New York baseball. This is all thanks to an unparalleled string of World Series victories immediately after moving to the new ballpark. Meanwhile, Brooklyn remained fiercely loyal to the Dodgers, while the Giants were becoming overshadowed by the Yankees' success. With the Pinstripes amassing plenty of titles, they claimed the lion's share of New York baseball fans that lived outside of Brooklyn. This entire dynamic would change dramatically when 2 of these 3 teams left New York, but more on that later. Baseball may have dominated New York's sports scene at the time, but it wasn't the only game in town. In the NHL and NBA, the Knicks and the Rangers made Madison Square Garden their shared home, cementing basketball and hockey as fixtures in the heart of Manhattan. Meanwhile, football grew in popularity with the NFL's Giants, who started out at the Polo Grounds before moving to Yankee Stadium. Sharing a home with both ball clubs allowed the football franchise to
Wait, so the football and baseball teams shared stadium?
To grow its fan base, especially among fans who already supported the baseball team with the same name. Having a single home for multiple teams was convenient, but it would have been even more convenient had these fans had access to SeatGeek, the sponsor of today's video.
Secure the
Now,
bag.
whether it's football or for a limited time, check out the link in the description below to get started. Now, back to the video. By the mid-20th century, New York had firmly become a professional sports capital. There were plenty of baseball teams to choose from, basketball and hockey teams shared an arena in the heart of the city, and the consistent success of the NFL's Giants was the cherry on top. But then, everything changed. From the 1950s to the early 1970s, New York's sports landscape underwent a seismic transformation. Teams left, new ones arrived, and the region's fandom both expanded and fragmented. This era marked the beginning of distinct patterns, where fans grappled with choosing between old loyalties and new arrivals, or simply, they embraced the abundance of options available. In the late 50s, baseball's Dodgers and Giants simultaneously left for California.
Damn.
Their departure created a massive void in New York's baseball scene, particularly on the other side of the East River. But that didn't mean that Giants and Dodgers
That
fans
is
would
brutal that you can't just move a team that's historically been there for so long.
all of a sudden cheer for the Yankees. After all, they played in an entirely different league and had enough success to become hated among those who had separate loyalties of their own. This hole in New York baseball paved the way for the Mets, a franchise that embraced Giants and Dodgers fans by repping both teams' colors, and also simply by just not being the Yankees. The newly formed Mets set up at Shea Stadium in Queens. Not long after, the Jets, an up-and-coming football team from the
Mets and the
AFL,
Jets.
moved in and shared the venue for 2 decades. The two teams, both representing a break from the city's traditional sports powers, naturally became linked in fans' minds. Sharing the same home and arriving as fresh alternatives to the city's established franchises made them symbols of a new era in New York sports. For baseball fans disillusioned by the departure of the Giants and Dodgers, the Mets offered a fresh identity and an outlet to support anything but the Yankees.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the Jets captured the imagination of a younger, more spirited fan base, especially after Joe Namath famously led them to a Super Bowl victory in 1969.
The New York Jets are the world champions.
So over time, New York's sports loyalties have split along familiar lines. The Yankees and Giants shared one side of the city, while the Mets and the Jets established themselves on the other. These divides shaped the city's fan culture. It blended legacy with fresh allegiances. Now bear in mind, this dynamic of sports fandom isn't entirely black and white. Some fans will support the Giants and Mets, others the Yankees and Jets. There's plenty of combinations to go around. That's the beauty of sports. Everyone chooses their own allegiance. So if you happen to be from that area, comment below which teams you're most loyal to. I'm curious to see some of the combinations. While the old versus new trend was more pronounced decades ago, it hasn't completely faded. Generational loyalty plays a significant role in maintaining these patterns, as many fans inherit their allegiances from their parents. Over time, this trickle-down effect has kept these connections alive, even as New York's sports landscape has continued to evolve. But about a decade after the emergence of a new wave of franchises in the NFL and MLB, the NHL followed suit by introducing a new team to the area. Unlike the Mets and the Jets, however, this franchise would be unique. It didn't represent New York City proper, but would instead anchor itself in Long Island. Established in the early 70s, the New York Islanders were strategically placed in Nassau County, specifically to avoid competing directly with the New York Rangers, whose fan base was deeply rooted in Manhattan and the surrounding boroughs.
Okay.
The Islanders' branding, colors, and identity were tailored to appeal to Long Island residents, which extended their reach to Nassau and Suffolk counties. This geographic distinction allowed the Islanders to carve out a fan base of their own, which was supported by a suburban population that was eager for a team. Luckily for the Islanders, their early success helped cement their identity. Winning 4 consecutive Stanley Cups in the early 80s brought immense pride to Long Island and fostered a strong, loyal fan base, some of which extended to Queens. While the franchise popularity could only compete so much with the Rangers, who are to this day the more popular NHL team in and around New York's metro area, the Islanders took the unusual route to plant its flag in an underrepresented region. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Hudson River, New Jersey expanded its presence in professional sports with the addition of the Nets in the NBA and the Devils in the NHL. Both franchises established themselves firmly in North Jersey, a region that overlaps significantly with the New York City metro area. However, despite this geographical proximity, these teams primarily cultivated fan bases within New Jersey's borders, creating distinct and clearly defined territories that rarely overlap with New York's sports market. This separation allowed the Nets and the Devils to grow their own identities without directly competing with New York's established hockey and basketball teams. That dynamic shifted in 2012 when the Nets relocated to Brooklyn, staking their claim as New York City's second NBA team. While the move brought the franchise into the heart of Brooklyn,
it's mad how they moved across a city, but it just changed their entire name.
And led to a brief surge of excitement thanks to high-profile players and ownership, the Nets have faced a steep uphill climb in popularity. The Knicks, with their ingrained presence at Madison Square Garden, remain the default team for generations of basketball-loving New Yorkers, which leaves the Nets struggling to carve out a significant share of
the thing is, the Nets were actually building a good team like a few years ago. Like they had like Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. This is like what, like 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know much about them now though. I don't know what's happening, if they're doing anything good now. I assume not.
The city's loyalty, although their impact within Brooklyn is growing every year. Over the decades, there have been shifts that subtly reshape the city's sports map. The Giants and the Jets now share a stadium across state lines in East Rutherford, New Jersey, while still representing New York by name. And the Islanders have moved closer to the city with their new home in UBS Arena, located at the border of Queens and Nassau County.
Right.
So what makes a New York sports fan? Is it where you live, the team your parents rooted for? Or maybe it's something more, a unique combination of history, culture, and personal identity that only exists in a city of this magnitude. New York's fandom isn't just about teams, it reflects the city's soul. Each franchise carries a cultural and psychological weight that often transcends borough lines, but not all the time. The Yankees represent a legacy of dominance, while the Mets embody reinvention. The Rangers might exude Manhattan's prestige, but the Islanders are Long Island's beating heart. But being a New York sports fan is also about the moments that unite the city.
And it's hit deep to left center. This one has a chance. Home run!
After 9/11, the Yankees and Mets provided more than entertainment. They became symbols of hope. Mike Piazza's unforgettable home run at Shea Stadium and the Yankees' near World Series win gave New Yorkers something to rally around during one of the city's darkest chapters. These moments reveal how fandom here isn't just about rivalry, it's about shared meaning. Today though, fandom in New York is evolving. Social media and digital access has given younger fans unprecedented exposure to teams and players outside of their immediate geography. Proximity still matters, but it's no longer the only driver. Someone in the Bronx may have picked the Nets because of the buzz of the...
Bro, they had fucking... That is mad. They had Harden as well. Bro, this is a crazy ass team. I remember seeing this and be like, yeah, they're going to be the best. And they just did. I don't know how it went, but it didn't end up going great. I mean, aren't they all at different teams now? I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Brief Big Three experiment. A fan in Queens might cheer for the Yankees, not because of accessibility, but because Aaron Judge's home run highlights flooded their social feed. The way fans discover and connect with teams is shifting, making fandom more fluid than ever. Yet, for all the modern changes, tradition still holds strong. The Yankees and Giants benefit from generations of loyalty passed down like family heirlooms, while teams like the Nets and the Jets work to carve out their own spaces in an already packed landscape. These generational ties provide a sense of continuity, but they also highlight the uphill battle for newer teams looking to win over a city that already has so much to choose from. Being a New York sports fan is about embracing the complexity. It's old versus new, borough rivalries versus digital trends, and a city with too many teams for any one to truly own.
There is a lot.
And if you're from New York City, or you just like their teams, be sure to check out map posters.
Good shout. Good little link at the end. It is interesting how there are so many teams. Obviously, New York's a massive city. Like in London, for example, which I feel like is quite comparable, there's a lot of Premier League teams and like football teams or soccer teams in general, right? But like, that's the same league or different leagues, but same sport. And then I guess there's probably like a few rugby teams and probably a few cricket teams. But I don't know, to be fair. Maybe it's actually similar in London, to be honest. But this is just interesting how you got so many options and everyone's represented by something. It's funny, most people here lump teams. If you root for the Yankees, you also typically root for the Giants and Rangers. Shout out to the Devils for being the lone remaining team to represent New Jersey. The Nets should have never left Jersey, man. One thing to add is that the Nets were originally the New York Nets and played in the Nassau County with the Islanders. Jets used to play in Queens. Mets are in Queens and Islanders nearby. That's why you have Knicks, Giants, Yankees, Rangers, and Jets, Islanders, Mets fans. Okay, so I feel like if you're a Knicks, Giants, Yankees, Rangers fans, you probably enjoyed your time more as a fan. I don't really know, because in recent history it might have changed a bit. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this reaction. This was actually a really interesting one, to be honest, and it's quite cool how this works out. But let me know if you're from New York, what your teams are, and yeah, just the sort of the sporting cultural history in your city. Like, explain it to me. But yeah, this is interesting. Hopefully you enjoyed, and until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.